Oh, go ahead. No, you can go. Watch it. This is Knife Skills 2. I did a Knife Skills video about a year ago. I'm gonna take your skills hopefully a little bit further. There's a lot of like cheap home stores here. So what I'm going to do is try and find the cheapest knife I can find. I saw one for $10. I think I can get one cheaper. I'm gonna sharpen it and show you that if you know how to sharpen a knife, you can make any knife of any like price point work for you. I will do everything we need to do today with a knife that's under $10, hopefully. Let's go find this knife.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
This is the knife I found. Surprisingly pretty thick and like seems like good quality. It's definitely not as sharp as I'd like it, so I'm gonna spend some time on the stone sharpening it. I do have a video that explains like how to use a stone and how to find your angle and sharpen a knife, so if you haven't seen that, check it out. I'm gonna sharpen this, then I'll show you guys some cuts. Okay, I got it like super sharp. That maybe took like 10 minutes. Feels like just as good as like professional knives. I truly don't like really believe that, you know, especially in professional cooking, knife culture is kind of a big thing and people like to spend all this money on knives. The best knives in the world don't make you better at using it. If it was handcrafted in the depths of a Japanese basement, if you don't know how to use it and care for it, it doesn't matter what knife it is. Learn how to sharpen a knife and learn how to use a knife before you go spending $500 on this black carbon knife. Yeah, this one feels amazing. Super sharp. It's got a good weight to it. I'm like super happy with this for $10. In my last video, I kind of showed just like how to dice an onion, how to hold a knife properly, and how to use the shape of your knife to your advantage. Those are all super important things. And I think the thing that I didn't touch on was your organization. Like I'm right-handed, so I always cut with my right hand. This will be my non-finished side. I'll be cutting in, you know, this side, and my finished side will be here. So it's kind of important that you keep that in your line of vision. Like you don't want to start over here and then you're pushing your finished product over, you have nowhere to go. So I always like to start in the middle. I also have space for this hand this way to keep my stance proper so I don't cut myself. And then what I also like to do, especially if I'm cutting like a lot of stuff, like if I'm making a soup and it's like, okay, I gotta cut celery, carrots, onions, potato, all this stuff, I like to have a scrap bowl just so I'm not running back to the garbage all the time. If I have to peel a bunch of onions, I can just peel these, put my scrap in the bowl. Just show you how to julienne a few things. An onion's super easy to julienne. Julienne is an 1/8 of an inch slice. So when I work an onion julienne, I like to go, like a lot of people will just go straight up and down, but if you go straight, what happens is, you know, that's not a julienne onion. Then you gotta go through and you gotta do it this way. So to save that whole step, so you don't have to do that and be a little bit faster, what you can do is start on this side and angle your knife so that you're gonna follow the shape of this. So you'll angle it this way and you'll slowly twist. And then when you get to this top part, then it will be straight up and down. And then when you get to here, you'll start to do the reverse, right? And it might take a while for you to get good at that, and you can always go slow, but if your knife is sharp, you know, it should be no problem. It's kind of like a great cut to use for julienne, salads, noodle dishes, stuff like that. When you're thinking about cut size, let's say you're like making something your own and you don't know how you should cut something. I hear that actually this a lot from people who are just getting into cooking, like I don't know what I should be cutting. So like if you're eating something that's like a noodle dish that you're likely gonna be eating with a fork, you don't wanna have huge cubes and strand something because you can't eat that all with a fork. So kind of just think about the application. The smaller you cut things, the more you can fit in a forkful or a spoonful. Let's say you're making a soup with 15 vegetables in it. If you cut those vegetables big, no bite will ever be the same. But if you cut them all really small, you have more chance of getting more variety in each spoonful. The higher you go in levels of cooking, the smaller things are cut because it does give a better experience, although it's more time consuming. You have more opportunity for each bite to be the same, which I think is important and like well worth the prep because it really does make a difference. What you can do with the julienne is technically called the brunoise, where you go 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch cube. So you would just go, and this is a very fine cube. This is essentially like, you know, you're gonna be eating these raw. You wouldn't need to cut this small if you're gonna be cooking. But you have this really small brunoise. I can only really tolerate eating raw onion if it's that small. Any bigger than that, and I just think like onions should not be raw. When I'm getting ready to prep and I'm making that first cut, I will put this here. This is my guide, directly in my eyesight. So I know that that's my goal. I want every single one to be like that. That really, really helped me when I was like learning to use a knife. I mean, I was working in restaurants and everyone was so much better than me at the time. And I was just like, shit, like I suck at using a knife. Someone told me this, just like use that and keep your eyes on that. That's your goal. And it made it so much easier. So every single thing I would cut in those days, I would cut my first one, measure it exactly how it was supposed to be, measure it, cut one, put that on the top of the cutting board, and I'd always look at that while I was cutting. Because there's layers in an onion, there's not a lot of cuts to do for a julienne. That's one of the easiest things you can julienne. To do something that doesn't have layers, potato in this case, anything that's like whole, you're just gonna, first I'm gonna take one side off the exact size I wanna cut it, which is 1/8 of an inch. Then I'm gonna use that flat side as my anchor, so this can't roll around on me anymore and it's not nearly as dangerous. And then I'm gonna just make cuts down this way. Again, 1/8 of an inch. What happens is a lot of people when they're learning to julienne, your instinct is kind of to keep them stacked and go like this, but especially with the potato, they're really slippery in between layers. You won't get good cuts because they'll slide while you're putting your pressure down, but it's also like dangerous. Like these slip around kind of unexpectedly. So what I like to do when I julienne is I'll cut my layers and I'll actually just spread them out. And it looks like how could you do a good job like this, but really then you're actually just cutting, you know, the way you normally would. And that's that, julienne. Eventually you'll get a little bit faster where you can shingle them a little bit less. With your hands, it's one of those things, you can watch all the videos in the world, but it actually just takes you like doing it and getting a feel for your knife. If you don't have a knife already, go get a cheap one, learn how to sharpen it so that it's very much up to par. Get comfortable with that knife. If you like really want to up your knife skills and you like really want to learn to be quite confident, I would say just go buy the cheapest vegetable, which I think is an onion. That's like the best thing to practice on. Throw some music on, slice and dice, and then just put them in containers. Micro hash browns. Yeah, so that's it. Pretty simple. You have a request for a video specific to the skills that you may be struggling with, feel free to leave it in the comments. If you like the video, prove it. Hit the like button. It's a direct way to support me. Commenting on the video helps my engagement, helps YouTube them push my videos. A link called Ko-fi that's always in my description as well. Help me directly with resources to make more content to help you cook better. See you guys in the next one.